So when Trump officially got his second term, I remember having a disagreement with Crystal. She felt like, hey, there ain't going to be no resistance this time around, right? People are beaten down. They're tired. It's just going to be like a meek submission, like a nebbish giving up that we're going to witness. And I felt like the opposite. I felt like there's no way that that's the case because Trump, his third campaign was literally his most unhinged and idiotic of all of his campaigns. And I just don't buy it that this colossal chunk of the country, well over 50%, is going to sit back and be like, yeah, go ahead, Mr. Psycho Dictator Man. You do whatever you want. Now, early on, it looked like she was right because you just didn't see much. You didn't see much in terms of fighting back against him, especially when it comes to the politicians, right? I mean, there was nothing, bro. There was nothing. In fact, it was like Fetterman would come out every other day and gargle Trump's nuts, and then you'd have a bunch of Democratic congressmen come out and say, I'm joining the Doge caucus in Congress and stuff like that. And I remember looking at it like, holy shit, Crystal was 100% right. But thankfully, it didn't take long for the grassroots to kick in, right? So in a sense, we were both right. She was right that the politicians did have that nebbish, meek reaction, and many of them have just like given up and agreed, like, yeah, whatever, it's the Trump era, so I guess we got to find a way to work with them. But the grassroots now, oh my God, they've come to life. And it didn't take long. And the reason I think you're seeing this reaction now is because Trump's a maniac. I mean, he's just a maniac. This is already significantly worse than this point in his first term. The fact that he's openly talking about stealing Greenland, warmongering with Greenland and Denmark and Panama, saying we're going to steal Panama, warmongering with Mexico and Iran, snuggling up to Netanyahu. And this is just foreign policy stuff. I haven't even talked about the domestic policy stuff, which is equally as insane. But now, thankfully, the cavalry has arrived. So take a look at this, man. So this is in the New Republic. Anti-Trump 50501 or 5051 protests break out across the country. Protests against Donald Trump and Elon Musk took place nationwide on President's Day. Here, let me zoom in a little bit. Thousands of protesters gathered at different cities across the country Monday to declare President's Day as No King's Day in protest of the unlawful actions of President Donald Trump and Elon Musk to upend the federal government. I have some video for you in a second of just how big these protests were. The swaths of protests were organized by the 5051 movement, a name which refers to 50 protests in 50 states on one day. The group, which originated on social media, previously planned a series of demonstrations that took place earlier this month in response to Musk and Trump's early efforts to overhaul the federal government. Since then, the fascist duo have only continued their plot to cut popular federal programs and launch mass firings of federal employees. In Washington, D.C., thousands of people gathered around the reflecting pool beside the U.S. Capitol. Hey, Congress, grow a spine, they shouted, according to independent journalist Alejandro Alvarez. So this is just, you could see how many people there are here. There's a lot of people, bro. That's a lot of people. Alvarez wrote that it was likely the largest demonstration to take place in the Capitol since Trump was inaugurated last month. Other protests took place across the country, from Augusta, Maine, to Portland, Oregon, to Santa Fe, New Mexico, to Orlando, Florida. In New York City, a video from Freedom News TV showed thousands of protesters marching through Lower Manhattan cheering, "Stop the coup." Here's what that looked like. In Boston, Massachusetts, nearly 1,000 people marched through the below-freezing temperature shouting, "No kings on President's Day." So, again, I got some footage here for you. This one is from New York City. That's a lot of people, bro. That's a lot of people right there. So, there's a reason. Doesn't that sort of look like a Nintendo controller at the top of this building? Right? Doesn't it? But there's a reason for hope. There's a reason for hope. But, you're not alone. If you're sitting there and going, what the fuck is going on? You're not alone. In fact, that's the majority perspective that people have. So that's a large protest in New York. Here, let's go to this one. Oh, this one's also New York. I'm going to go back to the D.C. one in a second because I'm interested in that one, but look at this. Again, that's a lot of fucking people, bro. That's a lot of people. We cannot let this fizzle out.
This is what democracy looks like, right there. Right there, this is what democracy looks like. what democracy looks like. This is what democracy looks like.
Okay, so literally it was like a day or two later, by the way. This is what Trump said.
Reestablishes the longstanding norm that only the president or the attorney general can speak for the United States when stating an opinion as to what the law is.
So in other words, they're protesting, hey, we don't have kings in this country. And within a couple days, he comes out and says, only the president and the attorney general can determine what the law is. In other words, giant middle finger, giant FU to the courts. So he's basically stating the exact opposite of what these protesters are saying. So guys, we got to keep this energy up here. Let's look at, I'm curious to look at this one. This is the New York City one. I'm sorry, not New York City, DC. They're telling Congress to grow a spine. Jail, Elon, you see some of the signs. No one voted for Elon Musk. Guys, this is a big deal. Shout out to the 50-51 people. Shout out to everybody who showed up to protest. Everybody needs to keep doing their part. And this matters. When you have this much energy bubbling up from the grassroots, there is a tipping point where that becomes completely and utterly undeniable. And we've seen it throughout history, right? Look at the civil rights movement, for example. When the fervor hits a boiling point, like they can only tamp down the will of the American public for so long before there has to be, something's got to give, right? Something's got to give. And what we're seeing now is not only all these people in the streets, but we just spoke to the Move On director. Remember, Hakeem Jeffries went after the Move On director and the Indivisible director because there's a lot of phone calls that Hakeem is now getting from the Democratic grassroots being like, hey, bitch, what the fuck are you doing? Why aren't you fighting? What's your plan? How do you move forward? Like, what are you doing? And so there's been thousands, probably tens of thousands of phone calls now. And so you awakened a sleeping giant. Because here's the thing, guys. The intelligent dictators, what they do is a piecemeal approach, right? You lose a little freedom over here, and then, maybe a year later, there's a little bit of a tweak to this one over here, and it's a slow but sure takeover. But what we're witnessing here with Trump and Elon is not that. They are moving at breakneck speed. They're moving probably faster than almost anybody in history here, with the absolute destruction of the regulatory state and the administrative state, firing everybody in sight. Elon Musk is getting $20 billion from the U.S. government at the same time he's slashing cancer research for kids at the National Institute of Health. You can only go so far, so fast, before everybody goes, whoa, what the fuck? And by the way, without a doubt, this has electoral consequences. Without a doubt. If you are effectively, they've already allegedly fired about 250,000 federal workers completely illegally, completely unconstitutionally. They're causing mass chaos. You think that doesn't lead to a backlash? You're literally witnessing the backlash right now, but this is not even the next election, for example. They're going to be putting up, Democrats are going to be putting up FDR numbers just by virtue of the fact that they're not fucking Republicans based on the insanity of what this administration is doing. You're going to fire the people who oversee our nuclear weapons and you even realize what the fuck you did? You're going to let Doge 19-year-old hackers get into the energy department where they keep our nuclear information. Meanwhile, these people are completely unvetted, no background checks whatsoever. You're going to destroy the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, the anti-scam police, who returned money to defrauded Americans from big banks to the tune of $20 billion, and they helped over 200 million Americans. to take everything good about our government and shred it instantly, the idea that you think you can get away with that and still be viewed as some sort of a hero is comical. It is comical. So keep the phone calls up. Don't stop with that. That energy matters. That energy does something. That energy makes people, it lights a fire under their fucking ass to get to work, right? Keep making those phone calls. Keep getting out there and protesting. We're going to do a segment tomorrow on exactly how to target Elon Musk, because he is in a unique position where he has specific vulnerabilities that we need to take advantage of. So we'll talk about that as well. And look, the other thing is, you see this and you can't help but think, in the same way that there was like the Tea Party movement after Obama got elected in 2008, and you had this wave of like fringe Republicans who very extremist, but that was the backlash to Obama winning on the right. Well, now you're getting the sense, you know, hey, look, I was one of the people who launched Justice Democrats to basically do the left-wing version of a Tea Party, right? But maybe I just tried it a little too early, right? Maybe we just missed by a couple elections, and the real moment to have the left-wing version of the Tea Party rise up, real leftists in government, in the model of Bernie Sanders. Maybe now's that moment. Maybe now is when, because look, I've never seen this before, where Democratic voters, one of our biggest hurdles is that Democratic voters trusted the media. They trusted the media. The Democratic base trusted the media. MSNBC, CNN, New York Times, Washington Post, etc. And so it made voices like mine seem like kind of marginal, right? Like, oh, he's just a fringe guy. Don't pay any attention to him. For the first time in my life, we are seeing a situation where Democratic base voters are as distrustful of the media as Republican voters are. So Republicans, yes, they trust Fox News and Newsmax and One America News and those idiot networks, but they hate CNN, they hate MSNBC, they hate the New York Times, they hate the Washington Post. They have a colossal distrust of mainstream media. Now, for the first time in my life, Democratic base voters are super distrustful of mainstream media. Morning Joe lost 60% of their viewership when they came out and said, hey, we had lunch with Trump, after they fucking called him Hitler before that, right? And so now there's a lane opening up. Now the so-called fringe voices, I would argue I'm not fringe at all. I would argue I'm very mainstream, but voices like mine and voices like yours and other people in this new media space are rising up in the sense that, oh, now the candidate of the people will be the next Bernie Sanders, right? It will be the one to fight MAGA and take them head on and actually stand for something, have a vision for how to fix this country. The polar fucking opposite of Elon Musk and Donald Trump, who are anarcho-capitalist extremists, right? You're gonna see the next person who rises up as a Democratic leader is gonna be somebody who's for universal health care, Medicare for all. They're gonna be for getting money out of politics. They're gonna be for the PRO Act to make sure everybody can join a union. They're gonna be for higher wages. They're gonna be for paid vacation time. They're gonna be for all those good things so that we actually have a philosophy that answers to this right-wing extremism. Democrats can no longer get away with standing for fucking nothing, right? And so that distrust of mainstream media among Democratic base voters is huge. And that's why you see this, right? This is Democratic base voters going, our institutions across the board have failed us. We got to rise up. So massive numbers in the streets. That's amazing. Keep it up. Keep it up. Massive number of phone calls. Keep that up too. That is super duper duper important. And the more people are politically involved, the more people are engaged, the more pressure you bring about, the more we are undeniable, bro. Undeniable. And so this is a very welcome thing that we're witnessing here. Very, very welcome thing. And I don't think it's going to stop, right? I think it's going to be a snowball effect because they are not slowing down. And every move they make is abysmal, is catastrophic, is disastrous, is horrendous. You have the world's richest man, this oligarch, billionaire, robber baron, ketamine addict, hypomanic freak, is now like the co-president, and actually in many respects he seems like he's above Trump. How much of that can people take when the world's richest man keeps giving himself billions of dollars in taxpayer money, but you're going to see massive cuts to Medicaid? They're going to gut Social Security. Just watch. Just watch. There's going to be a turning point. We're witnessing it. Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.